At Rokuhira Swordsmith, the day commenced under the warm rays of sunshine for Kunishige and his son Chihiro. Kunishige, renowned as the most famous swordsmith in their country, crafts special katanas using a unique method. Every day, Chihiro diligently trains alongside his father. When Kunishige is at work, he switches to serious mode, a stark contrast to his usual demeanor. Chihiro often finds it a bit odd, especially when Kunishige talks to the goldfish they keep, a quirky habit he picked up. One day, Kunishige returned home with some goldfish he had acquired from the sword polisher. Chihiro wasn't thrilled since he knew he'd end up taking care of them. The red goldfish was believed to bring good fortune, the black one warded off evil, and the three-colored one was simply said to be amazing. Handling his father's whims and responsibilities like this sometimes proved to be a handful for Chihiro. While the two were engrossed in their usual casual banter, a familiar face suddenly graced their gathering. Shiba, an old friend of Kunishige, popped in for a visit as he often did. Bringing along some souvenirs, he went into a discussion about the town's ongoing turmoil with Kunishige. In a playful manner, Shiba even sparked a light-hearted height comparison between himself and Chihiro. During this visit, Shiba spoke about Kunishige's fame during the Seitei War 15 years ago, where he was considered a hero, as the sword he forged played a crucial role in ending the war. Chihiro had heard this story countless times, along with constant comparisons between him and his father. After Shiba left, Kunishige shared a moment with his son, who had just turned 15, discussing Chihiro's aspiration to become a swordsmith. Kunishige led Chihiro to a room where a katana rested on an altar. It was one of the swords he had forged before Chihiro was born, a weapon used during the war. As Kunishige held the katana, he reflected on how katanas, while tools for saving lives, could also be instruments of death. Swordsmiths bore responsibility for the consequences of the katanas they created. In one swift strike, he cut through a bamboo stand before the altar, emphasizing that katanas, in the wrong hands, could take innocent lives. Swordsmiths must always consider this. Kunishige asked Chihiro if he could shoulder the weight of producing and entrusting a katana to someone, knowing the impact it could have. Chihiro, although unsure, was committed to taking on this responsibility. After their talk, Kunishige told his son to get back to work. 38 months later, the Kurogumi, a Yakuza organization, is executing the elimination of a group of people associated with a particular movement. Among them was a lone victim, battered and bound. This victim shared how their once peaceful city had descended into chaos following the infiltration of the Kurogumi, who resorted to violence and seized control over both land and wealth. The Yakuza boss of this assassination group delivered a sharp slap to the victim while insinuating that a higher power supported their actions. When the victim mentioned the possibility of sorcery being involved, a man wearing a cap seated on a platform within the building intervened. He found the victim's words intriguing, and unusual roots began to emerge near the victim's face. Descending to the victim's level, the man in the cap inquired whether the victim had ever encountered sorcery before. He emphasized that bravery often had its roots in ignorance as spiky branches began to constrict the victim. Turning his attention to the Yakuza boss, the man in the cap stated that the method used was inconsequential as long as they received payment. Nevertheless, he expressed concerns about the Yakuza boss's organization, particularly the upstarts. With a mysterious hand gesture, possibly hinting at some kind of sorcery, he departed, leaving some flames in his body as he exited the area. Chihiro was seated on a train heading to a certain city when Shiba approached him, munching on some grilled smelt. Chihiro mentioned they were supposed to meet at the station and couldn't help but wonder how he never saw anyone casually eating grilled fish while walking around. Shiba offered to share some with Chihiro while taking a seat in front of him, but Chihiro declined. As Shiba continued to enjoy his grilled fish, he commented on the prominent scar on Chihiro's left upper face, suggesting that it could be removed since it was quite noticeable. Chihiro explained that every morning, when he saw that scar in the mirror while washing his face, it served as a constant reminder of a specific day, filling him with fresh resentment each morning. Shiba pointed out that this long-standing grudge could potentially be harmful to Chihiro, prompting Chihiro to ask if Shiba intended to stop him. The two of them arrived in a city that Shiba introduced as one ruled by the Korigumi Yakuza group. Chihiro inquired if the Yakuza had any connections to a certain group of individuals. Shiba admitted he wasn't entirely sure, but it was the only lead they had thus far. Chihiro suggested that they assess whether the Yakuza were reasonable individuals before engaging with them. Meanwhile, nearby residents were discussing the grim sight of several hanged bodies at the entrance of a huge torii gate. These bodies were associated with a group known as the anti-Korigumi movement, and it was clear that they met this gruesome fate for opposing the Korigumi. Shiba noted how such gangs often use such displays as a warning to deter interference, implying that the group might be ruthless. Chihiro, visibly angered by the sight of the dead bodies, inquired about the location of the gang's base and requested that Shiba take him there. Outside the Korigumi Yakuza base, some members of the group were casually seated, keeping watch at the entrance while discussing their readiness to eliminate anyone bold enough to intrude. In the midst of their conversation, a sword suddenly struck one of the Yakuza members, fatally slashing the throat of the person seated in front of him. This surprise attack was carried out by Shiba, who signaled to Chihiro that he would deal with this group of men. Chihiro, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, leaped onto the table of another group of Yakuza members. With an oddly polite apology for interrupting their conversation, he proceeded to methodically eliminate each of them, slitting their throats and leaving none of them alive. The victim remained on the ground, trapped by the Yakuza boss who had menacingly brought in his only family member, his younger sister, to the tense confrontation. This situation pushed the victim to shout in fear and ultimately concede, agreeing to share all the information he possessed. However, their conversation was abruptly interrupted when one of the men who had opened the entrance door was suddenly struck down and another had his hand severed. This unexpected turn of events sent a shiver down the Yakuza boss's spine as he urgently inquired about the identity of the newcomer. He also raised concerns about the guards stationed outside, unaware that Shiba and Chihiro had already taken care of them a little earlier. In a somewhat playful retort to the boss's inquiry, Shiba called out that his men were indeed slacking off. He then informed one of the surviving guards outside that Chihiro was none other than the son of Kunishige, the renowned master swordsmith famous for his unique and unparalleled technique. As Chihiro entered the building, he expressed his intention to ask a question, while making it clear that he couldn't allow any of them to wield katanas. In response to this, the Yakuza boss promptly ordered his men to attack Chihiro. Meanwhile, Shiba, who remained outside, explained that Kunishige had infused Chihiro's katana with sorcery. This katana was unique and possessed special powers due to the enchanted blade crafted by Kunishige. Chihiro, now in a combat-ready stance, firmly gripped his katana and chanted the word Enten as he drew the sword from its scabbard. This action summoned a goldfish with 3 colors, its aura merging with the katana. It was the last katana crafted by his father, the one Kunishige had sacrificed his life to create. With a further incantation of black, Chihiro swiftly and effortlessly bisected all the men in front of him, seemingly without even making contact with them using his sword. He then leaped into the air and delivered decisive strikes, concluding the lives of all his adversaries with the utterance of Nishiki. As Chihiro eliminated most of the men and Shiba joined him inside the building's hall, which now bore witness to a gruesome scene of blood and fallen Yakuza members, Chihiro had a specific purpose in mind. He spared the Yakuza boss's life momentarily to extract information about the Hishaku, a group of sorcerers who supported the Yakuza. Initially, The Yakuza boss feigned ignorance, but Chihiro's words and intense gaze soon wore down his pretense. Chihiro made it clear that the boss's subordinates had met their end, awaiting him in the afterlife. Meanwhile, Shiba assisted a victim by cutting the ties that bound him. In a trembling voice, the boss revealed that the Hishaku were no ordinary foes. They were monsters. Chihiro, undeterred by this description, questioned the boss's perspective. Thank you for joining us on this intense journey through the world of swordsmithing, honor, and sorcery. That is Kagurabachi. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more epic tales like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Ring the notification bell so you never miss an update on our latest content. We love hearing from you, so leave a comment below with your thoughts on this video and any suggestions for future topics. Share this video with your friends who are fans of action-packed stories and intricate lore. Your support helps us create more exciting content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure.